Now there's audio.
I'm so glad! I'm so glad because he yelled so loud when we flew onto the screen.
Oopsie poopsie.
He was trying to blow your guys'
Now there's audio.
I'm so glad! I'm so... Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Next week we'll try to spook you. Keep your sound down next week when we fly onto the screen. Because I'm sure since he didn't get to scare you this week and instead just screamed...
Somebody will watch it after the fact, and I doubt it's that loud.
Anyway, guys. So, we haven't been around for... It's been 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks now.
Technically, it's been 3 since we've been on. We skipped 2.
So 2 weeks.
3 weeks.
They've missed us for 2 weeks.
Yes.
So, for those who don't know already, I'm sure that most of you do, over the last, it's been since late July, I've been posting about my grandma who was diagnosed with cancer. Actually, I think she was diagnosed in late June. She had a very short battle with cancer. She started with bowel cancer, and then it moved to her stomach, and she decided that she didn't want to go through with chemo. And then last month, we canceled the Friday Bean because she went into the hospital for kidney failure because the stomach cancer made her not want to eat or drink anything. They were able to hydrate her a little bit and send her home, but ultimately she signed all of her do not resuscitate requests, and she told them that she did not want to go through with chemo. So she ended up passing away on, what day was it? It was last week, right? No, the week before last.
It was the week before, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the week before on Thursday, because that's why we canceled the first Bean.
That's right, because we went to visit her on a Wednesday 2 weeks ago, and we sat with her, and I talked to her, and she was watching some crime drama on BET, which was her favorite thing to do. And she was just, totally responsive and talking to me. And then the following morning, my uncle, who was her caretaker, went into her room, and she asked him to please turn her bed towards the window so she could look out. So he spent all morning rearranging her bedroom for her and she had a hospital bed because she was hospice care at the time. He moved everything around in the house and turned her towards the window, and then he went in within, I think, 20 minutes later, and she had passed away. So, due to my family's financial state, because they pretty much, how would you describe their house? It was like a little shack.
Yeah, they didn't live in a very big house.
No, they lived in like a little shack on the corner. But I took over everything. I took over all of the meetings and the final settlings of everything that had to be done. I took over the funeral, and I took over everything with the flowers and getting her her casket and her vault and buying the plot at the cemetery. And this week I had to go in and get everything for her headstone. And then I found out that one of her brothers and sisters didn't have headstones, and they've been dead since 2007 and 2008. So I had to order them headstones because I didn't realize my family didn't have money at the time to do it. So it's just been one big crazy thing the last few weeks. Will you stop it? But I was very close to my grandma, so it has been hard. It's been kind of a roller coaster. And on Monday, I announced that I would be back. But I've had to ease into things. I thought I was going to be able to jump right back in and slam back into everything. But I've noticed that I'm my fuel tank every morning is like half there. So I'm not quite to the point where I'm just mega productive. So for those who have been waiting for me to like respond to emails and stuff, I am working through them. I'm just not sitting in, I mean, you guys have to consider how many emails like pile up over the course of 2 weeks. So I'm not sitting and responding to 200 emails a day. I'm doing like 10 to 15 emails, and then I'm, respecting my mental health a little bit. So today we're kind of going into a taboo topic, but I realize that this could be applied to a lot of different things, including the wedding industry, and I would say maternity is another big one that I noticed when I was pregnant. It kind of happened to me a lot, where companies really take advantage of your emotions so that they can optimize their sales. And it's something that as marketers we have to get comfortable with doing, or at least creating emotions within our target audience. But at the same time, there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And I'll be the first to say that the funeral home industry, they kind of take the wrong approach to doing it. So we're going to talk a little bit about the marketing experience that we went through sitting through all of these funeral home meetings. And I know that this is like way outside of the realm of Etsy, though I did find out that you can order headstones on Etsy, which was very interesting.
It's more of a general business practices kind of.
Exactly. I learned a lot. It's things that I never thought that I was going to go into the meeting at the funeral home and learn things about business. But I think that it's crucial that we talk about these things. And one thing that I did want to point out,
okay, boy,
before we begin, is one of my childhood friends took anthropology in college, and she did anthropology, right?
For what?
She did a research paper on why talking about death and funerals is taboo. And talking about specifically the cost of death and why that's taboo. It was apparently something completely created by the funeral home industry. That way people, just like in the workplace, don't talk about how much you make, which is completely idiotic. That's a workplace culture.
It's counterintuitive.
It is counterintuitive, and it's
you should always talk about the money that you make. It encourages people to want to be you.
Right, and it makes sure that there's no inequality and unfairness going on in the workplace. But and it's with the funeral home industry. It's it's one of those cases where you could walk in, dressed very, very well, and they might assume that because you're dressed very well, that you make significantly more money than the person who walks in a ripped up T-shirt. And they might charge you more for things. But obviously, I'm sure that there are laws in place and things like that can prevent being taken advantage of to that extent.
I would dress nice, not really. No,
I would hope. We've had a couple experiences just being young with shopping for new cars and things. We
got treated like crap at a couple of dealerships because we asked to drive cars that they thought we couldn't afford.
Yeah, and it was very frustrating. Even when he was in the military, it was hard for us because we were so young. And I mean, despite the fact that he was making enough money to buy a new car, and I was very heavily pregnant, we struggled to get a car because we were so young.
I ended up having to have my grandpa co-sign to even get a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, guys. Okay, so let's talk about emotions in the first place and what they're for. And let me go ahead and pop open our chat so you can... There. You keep an eye on that.
Thank you.
So emotions, we feel emotions for a reason. We feel emotions because they are the psychological shortcut or the neurological shortcut that our brain takes in order to not have to think so hard about the decisions that we make. And that's where gut feelings come from. They are kind of the compass that guides us when our brain doesn't want to use too much energy. This all ties back to the very primitive human, where we don't want to spend hours and hours using, all of our energy just thinking about whether do I eat this leaf or this leaf? Do I go down the path to the left or the path to the right? Do I choose this mate or this mate? Usually it comes with a gut feeling. Oh, this person is more attractive to me, so this is the person that I'm going to make my babies with. It's all these little feelings and things that we tie back to fate and destiny, and in reality they are the psychological shortcuts that our brain is taking so that we don't have to waste that energy thinking, man, which brand of toilet paper should I buy? And then you end up standing in the toilet paper aisle reading both labels and trying to figure it out. Instead, toilet paper companies do their psychological marketing, where they try to incorporate in some emotional triggers like cute babies and puppies and the Charmin bears that you see in the commercials dancing around. They try to throw in things that help us to make a decision quickly about the product that they sell, and they throw in images that kind of connect to what they want their brand to be associated with. Like, for example, you think soft, you think baby soft skin, so we'll put a baby on it. Or puppies are soft, puppies are fuzzy, we'll put puppies on what I think it's Angel Soft. No, Angel Soft is the baby. Cottonelle, I think, is the puppy.
Yeah, Cottonelle's the puppy.
Cottonelle's the puppy. But these are totally fine ways to appeal to people's emotions. Where things tend to get a little bit tricky when we're appealing to emotions, though, is when you try to get someone to make a purchase that they don't already want to make, or they are emotionally vulnerable and you use that emotional vulnerability to make suggestions while they're more susceptible to taking those suggestions to heart. And that's where things tend to get a little bit shaky. Now, the biggest example of this that I recall was when I was pregnant. I noticed that maternity stores and maternity clothings and anything related to pregnancy, the prices on these products were insane. And anybody who's had babies and you've had to buy all these crazy maternity things, a lot of them you don't even need. They're just random things that they try to tell you that you've got to have. But I noticed that these are ultimately pieces of clothing that you're only going to be wearing for a short time, and yet the prices of them are significantly higher than normal clothing that you would wear for several years
of the same quality. You're paying fashion clothing prices for like bare bottom quality clothing.
Exactly. And things that you absolutely don't need. Have you ever walked into a Motherhood store? Do they still have Motherhood?
I think so.
Yeah. Motherhood, I know ours closed down at our mall. But you walk into that store and, I mean, they descend on you like a hawk trying to make suggestions, and obviously they have to because that's their job. But when it comes to companies as a whole, I think that what I noticed the most while shopping for maternity clothing is that they really wanted to capitalize on the fact that you felt bad. When you're pregnant, you feel bad. You don't feel good. You don't feel beautiful. Maybe there's a couple women who felt beautiful. I didn't feel beautiful. That glow that everyone told me that I had, that was sweat. I felt like a beached whale when I laid in bed. And I noticed that all of the ads and the emails and all of the websites that I would get on that sold maternity clothing, what they wanted to do was make you feel like you could live this happy, glorious pregnancy life, and you saw all these women smiling. I mean, it's almost the same as when you see like tampon commercials and the girls are playing tennis and jumping in the air and in little mini skirts. Like, nobody's doing that. Nobody in the world is doing that.
You're sitting in the car complaining, eating a
cheeseburger
or something, crying.
It hurts. But anyway, I think that this is one of those things where if you are in one of these industries, there is a good way to appeal to someone's emotions, and then there is obviously the bad way where you are making them feel like if they do not buy your product that they are lesser, that they will be judged for, that they have some obligation, that it's what everyone else is doing. You even see this a lot in the course industry, where there are course creators that are going to be like, well, you're just, if you don't buy it, then you're going to regret it, and you're going to feel really bad, and you're going to see everybody else doing well, and you're going to be super upset. and yada yada, or they tell you, oh, take out a credit card, it's worth it. And that's like one of those things that we've always tried to stray away from.
It drives me nuts.
We
we like to stick on the if you can't afford it, please wait.
Yeah, stay on sticking on the side of integrity, because what you don't want to do is push someone to buy something at an inflated price, obviously, because I mean, we do have to think about our own profits, and there are profits to be had in industries where someone feels emotionally vulnerable, but you have to decide for yourself how high you're going to take that price. If you're going to price competitively for the sake of keeping your prices congruent with the next person who's trying to exploit emotions through pricing, or if you're going to be the purple cow or the standoutish business of your industry by offering services or offering costs that are lower and better, and we'll say, maybe a little bit more understanding and less pushy than some of the brands that aren't. So back on to the topic of funeral homes, one of the things that we did before we went to the funeral home to purchase everything
Yeah,
everything was we got online and we started doing a little bit of research into the things that funeral homes do to take advantage of you. We wanted to know. We knew that it happened. It's no big secret that, I mean, when you see that the cost of a funeral home a funeral is typically between, man, we saw like $19,000
like
for some.
$14,000 to $30,000, something like that.
And I'm like,
don't pay $30,000 for a funeral. The person has already passed away. They don't care.
Yeah.
Please don't let someone do that to you.
Yeah. So we did a little bit of research into all the things that they're going to offer you. And for example, I guess we have to really tie in mine and Mark's morals and values in here, because obviously there are options like cremation, and there are options that are going to be more cost effective. But my grandma's wishes were to be with her brothers and sisters in the same cemetery that all of our family are buried in. So we had to take that into consideration. And the second thing that we had to also consider was that my grandma lived very, very poor her entire life, and she wouldn't have wanted anything overly extravagant. Now, Mark and I are on the side that we want to be buried like straight in the dirt. Feed us to the worms and give us to the earth.
Shoot me right out into space. That's another one of mine, but
like, we don't care. Once we're dead, we're gone. We do not care what happens to this body. Give the organs to some little kid who needs them, and do what you will with the rest. But when it came to my grandma, she wanted things done very traditionally. So when we went into before we went into our appointment with the funeral home, I did some online research on all of the ways that funeral homes profit off of things that you don't need. And one of the things was casket gauge. Do you want 16 or 18 gauge caskets?
It doesn't matter.
One is thicker than the other. It's going to keep the body preserved longer.
And
there was another one, casket sealant. Make sure that the casket is sealed. Pay an extra $100 for the sealant to go all the way around. What? The other one was sealing the vault, getting the vault sealed with some adhesive. It was like another.
So you don't have to fight your zombie grandma.
Right, exactly. Another $150. Like what? These are things to prevent grave robbing, I think was the reason. But
yeah, it's not 1850 anymore.
Right. So
the only graves that get robbed are rich people.
I don't know. All these little upgrades and things. But the number one thing that we noticed were that caskets are the number one way that funeral homes make their money. They make their money through the casket sale. And I found a list of websites, including Walmart.com and Amazon.
Who both sell caskets, by the way.
Yeah, you can buy caskets for significantly less. They're better than what you'd get at the funeral home. And often they're the exact same thing that you would get from the funeral home.
We got the exact same thing. We'll tell that story in a minute.
Yeah, so first of all, we went into the funeral home already knowing that we were going to buy one online. We told the guy that we already had one, that way he couldn't argue, because United States federal law, for all of our U.S. friends who want to take this note for, the future, maybe you've got, some older grandparents or parents, or you want to write it down for your kids so they're aware. U.S. federal law states that if you provide a vessel a casket to the funeral home.
It doesn't even have to be a casket. It can literally just be a wood box.
Yeah, they have to accept it. They have no choice. They must accept what you give to them. They cannot argue it. They don't have to accept the vault. The cemetery does not have to accept the vault that you provide, but the funeral home must accept the casket. Yep. So we sat down in our appointment and we let them know that we would be providing our own casket. That was the very first thing that we told him. And his mood immediately changed. He was a completely different person after that point.
100%. He went from being playful and funny to short and blunt the whole time.
Yes. And
he just lost like $4,000 profit.
Yeah, and he even admitted to us, he told us some story about how he had bought, oh yeah, I did the same thing. I bought a casket for, a buddy of mine who had passed away, and the funeral home we went through told me I couldn't bring it in. And I didn't tell him that I knew that it was federal law that they had to accept it. He made it seem like he did some triumphant argument with the owner of this other funeral home to allow him to provide a casket, so he completely understood. But by federal law, they don't have a choice. So nope. we kept that. That was like the ace up our sleeve. We didn't pull out that card on him. But after that point, he really didn't upsell us on a whole lot, because I think he realized that the main point of his sale was gone. We had taken that away from him. And, understandably, they are a business. But here's where things get a little bit screwy, and what I think that we can all learn when it comes to buying direct from any company, or I guess this is more buying through a third party. When you're purchasing products, including, going to the craft store rather than looking up direct distributors, rather than buying wholesale, is that when we went to place the order for the casket itself from the website, and it was called Sky Caskets, by the way. They were beautiful. Just maybe bookmark that for later in case you ever need it. Hopefully you won't. Great website, though. They did next day delivery to the funeral home of your choice. We didn't have to touch anything. It was just, they called us to let us know it was delivered. But we got somehow routed to the CEO of the company. He doesn't even know how we got to him. He had no idea how we were able to reach him, how we got directed to him. But we ended up buying a casket for $1,200 from Sky Caskets. It was baby blue with silver accenting, and the inside of the lid said "going home," which was some of my grandma's final words were that she just wanted to go home to be with her family, who had all previously passed away as well. So we got this beautiful casket that completely fit exactly what we wanted for $1,200, and the CEO of the company told us that if we had purchased this exact casket through the funeral home, who he was the primary distributor for, he told us that he was actually the guy who provided caskets to our funeral home and knew exactly where it was.
Yeah, we didn't even have to finish saying the name of it. The guy was in California. We said the first, because I don't want to say.
It's like two names.
It's three names.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the funeral home, but we said the first name and a half, and the guy immediately knew who we were talking about and said the rest of it and said where they are and the location and all of that stuff.
Yeah, knew exactly.
So we know he was the provider for that funeral home.
Yep, knew exactly who they were. He told us that if we would have bought the exact same casket from the funeral home, they would have charged us over $5,000. So we ended up saving several $1,000s on a casket by buying direct through the distributor. Now, I know that this is kind of like a really weird story to connect to Etsy and marketing, but think about it this way. Think about what would have happened if we would have just bought what we were told was the very best option and the very best thing for Grandma the day that we went into the funeral home, and we had not told them that we already had done our research. What if we had not done that research? What if we had just eaten from the spoon that they provided to us and, consumed every bite of it? Now, think about all of the things that we buy in our daily lives, even for our business, and how we go through them. For example, Best Buy is another really great one that, Geek Squad and going in, taking the suggestions of the people who are working at Best Buy. No offense to anybody who works at Best Buy.
Yeah, or Geek Squad, but they're both known for taking advantage of their customers big time.
And price, they don't do any type of price matching, do they? Or
Best Buy does, yeah.
do they do price matching?
Yeah, they're great. Their employees do think they match things they're not supposed to.
Okay, well, that's more of an employee thing.
Yeah, it just depends on where you're at. But no, Geek Squad, I'm not a fan of Geek Squad. I've never been a fan of Geek Squad. They've been caught multiple times ripping people off, so.
Saying things are wrong. And it's like...
It's just like getting your car worked on. You go in for one problem, they find 10 others. If someone's going to charge you... If you're paying for a service that costs, let's say, more than $1,000, because $1,000 is where most people start to think, okay, that's a lot of money, get a second opinion. It doesn't matter what it is. If it costs more than $1,000 for something you think sounds a little iffy, always get a second opinion.
But it's the things that you don't know enough about to be able to argue it, basically.
Exactly. They take advantage of ignorance.
Yeah, or you're emotionally vulnerable at that point of time. Let's bring up, weddings, for example. You are so emotionally susceptible. Oh, you need this. You need these flowers. Your wedding will not be complete without this guest book. Oh, no, not that one. You need this one. You've got to have this to go with your dress. You need to have this and this and this. And it's all so silly. It's all so very silly. So my big thing to you guys today is to think about what you sell, no matter what it is. It could be jewelry, it could be greeting cards. Think about the positive emotions that you can capture. Think about the positive things and the positive messages that you can send to people without swaying them in a direction that they might not necessarily want to go down, or by making them feel guilty. Now, obviously, we do tend to do this a bit when it comes to scarcity, like sales and things, where you say, oh, you have to buy this now because the sale is going to be over in 24 hours. But this is very different than trying to force someone to buy something that they don't already want to buy, or trying to upsell them on something that they don't want. Because when you offer a sale, what you're ultimately doing is taking someone who's already interested in your product and giving them that little nudge to make that final step to purchase. You're taking someone who's already interested and you're encouraging them to go ahead and buy because the price is low right now and it's going to go up. Whereas there are a lot of companies who will basically do the opposite of that. They will say, oh, you are not in the buying mood, or you are emotionally vulnerable right now in a position where you probably don't want to be spending this kind of money, but you have to out of obligation, which means we have the power to charge you whatever it is that we want to charge you, and you can put it on a credit card and pay it off over the next 30 years. So it's one of those things, like I said, where you have to decide for yourself how far into the emotional marketing realm that you want to go. And you have to kind of, despite what people around you might be doing, because we see it a lot in the course industry, some of the big course gurus who we learn from, some of the like billionaire people out there who sell books and in-person seminars and things that you can attend, they are some of the worst people to do this. They make you feel like you are lesser than if you do not do exactly as they tell you to do. And usually there's a hefty price tag attached to whatever it is that they say you have to do to be successful. And despite the fact that we see people in our own industry doing this, we've made a conscious decision to say, yes, we might make less money, but our integrity is more important. And that's a personal choice that you guys need to make. Where does integrity versus your profit sit? And I know that this is like one of those things where most people are going to say, oh, my integrity's way up here. Profit, I don't care about. That might be something that you say out loud at a cocktail party, but I want you guys to sit in your own mind and really think about it, because it seems like an obvious choice. But when you really think about the longevity of your business, you should think long and hard about it, and where the lines between integrity and profits truly sit. I don't think a lot of businesses do it.
You can't sit on both. It goes kind of without saying that the more successful someone is, the more weary you need to be about how they get that successful.
Yes.
Like if you look, we'll go to the super rich. How many super rich people do you see that are, we'll say, good people in their spare time, at least as far as the media portrays? It's very, very few. There's a couple people that you can actually, like Elon Musk, for example, we reference him a lot, but he's generally known for being a good guy. He doesn't do anything scammy. But look at pretty much any other person ever. The more successful someone is, the higher the chance that they're going to be a scumbag kind of person. That's just how it is, because in order to succeed, you have to, like, go up to your competition and then blast right past them. And the only way to do that is being as aggressive as humanly possible.
And you know, one thing I will say is that with the integrity model, you tend to grow slower, but the trust is there. The people respect you more. I think that that's one of the ways that we really shine when it comes to the alphas. We don't BS you guys.
Nope.
You know, we are open to talk about our pricing model and about the things that, you know, where our money goes. We are very open about the fact that we live in a very tiny house, but we're saving to buy a bigger one, you know. We're very open about the fact that we live, you know, we live okay, but I don't know. I think it's one of those things where people just, they shy away from that model, when in reality, you build so much more trust and genuine connection with those people that you serve in the long run, because you become a human. Right now, talking to you guys, I don't see you as people who are under me.
Nope.
And that's the problem with a lot of business models, is
We have students that are more successful than we are.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have Snowy Palms, Kate McMullen. She has over 10,000 Etsy sales. She has significantly more Etsy sales than me, but she's one of my HAA students and she's learned a lot. So it's all about having that honest business model. Now, Rachel had said, don't even say the word wedding at bakeries, florists, caterers, etc.
Yep.
All upcharged as soon as they heard the W word. We experienced something similar with the funeral flowers. The florist I went through, I noticed that all of the flowers were broken down into categories, but the sprays for the tops of the caskets and I got 2 pop-up stands with flower sprays that sat on each side of her casket. Collectively, it was $600 for funeral flowers. This was significantly more than just typical, you know, arrangements. And granted, they were bigger, but collectively, I could have bought a...
We're still moving over here, though, so it's not on our end. Give it a minute.
And type into the chat.
Yeah.
Love, Kate.
Oh, nope, there we go.
Okay, cool.
Alexander said Elon Musk is known for being a terrible person. Look at the way he treats his employees. Okay, so for those of you who have never worked in big business or in a place that has like a large leadership structure, he doesn't probably treat his employees in any way because he's probably never around his employees. Same goes with, and people are going to hate this one, Amazon. People talking about how crappy Jeff Bezos treats his employees. Jeff Bezos doesn't make the rules for how Amazon warehouses work. He's probably hardly ever in an Amazon warehouse. These people aren't around their employees, and they get misunderstood for treating their employees like crap for being strict. But again, that's where it comes in to being a good leader and having followers that complain. Being in the military, this was a common thing that we saw, is that being told to do something when your word is absolute, people are going to object to that and say that you're treating them like crap. That's just kind of the generation that we live in. I'm very old-fashioned when it comes to this kind of stuff. When you work for a company, when your boss tells you to do something, you do it. If you complain, then you get reprimanded. That's how it's always been, and it's a recent development that that's not okay. I've never seen any videos of Elon Musk being crappy with his employees. I'm sure he's crappy sometimes, but that's not even... We were referring to his personal life, not his business life. So, yeah.
Someone's meowing in the background.
Yeah, Toots Boots is meowing back there.
It also ties back to when you were in the military and, like, you secured some big expensive thing. We won't get into the...
Yeah, I can't get into the specifics.
But basically he saved the military how much...
I didn't save them any money. I got $16 million for a program.
Yeah. So $16 million, and it was his chain of command that was, congratulated and got all the recognition.
I got a coin.
So it's almost the same thing, but reversed. Sarah said, I sell memorial jewelry. Over and over, I'm thanked for having realistic pricing and not taking advantage of people in their time of grief. I wouldn't think of doing it any other way. Exactly. And you probably profit significantly more by having all of those outstanding reviews and great, just those great customer experiences that you are able to create in a time when people are used to being taken advantage of, because that's just kind of how it is. Let's see. Have you read his biography?
No, I haven't. I have not read his biography. When we were referring to this, I'm going off of media portrayal of people. And when it comes to somebody like Elon Musk, he's very highly praised in the scientific community. So either way.
Let's see.
Excuse me.
Let's see. Samantha, I'm honest to potential customers. If what I'm trying to sell them won't be exactly right for them, I tell them. They're normally thankful because of at most come back for different items. Yeah, and we do that as well, where if a customer, especially if they have really high expectations of something,
We do this for the course.
Oh, yeah, that too. Where they, is this going to teach me how to make $1 million? Is this going to teach me how to, the potential is there to make a lot of money, but we will never tell you that you're going to make X amount because, there's a lot of other factors like the work that play into it. Let's see. This was more of an SEO question. I mean, I guess we're kind of done with...
Yeah, pretty much. We're good for questions. I had my Etsy shop for 5 months now and still have 1 listing. Should I start doing the same on that, or is it a waste of time because absolutely only views?
If you've only got 1 listing, you should add more listings.
You should have 10. You should be doing product launches with a minimum of 10 listings.
Yeah, I would make sure that you have at least 10 listings. Don't put... One listing, it's just so hard because someone goes into your shop and it almost feels like it's not complete. Not to mention the branches of your SEO aren't going to stretch very far because you've only got that 1 listing by itself. You're not casting a very big net. So I would try to get more listings into your shop right away.
I'm such a crappy boss, I treat myself appallingly. Well, I always say that you should treat yourself twice as hard as you treat your employees, and if you're your only employee, that means you got to treat yourself 3 times as hard.
I haven't been the very best boss to myself. I'm doing better at it. And then people are emailing me nonstop.
That's one thing that's really hard about all of this business stuff is a good majority of people have never been a boss of anyone. And if you've never been a boss of anyone, it's really hard to teach yourself how to be a boss for yourself. Especially when you don't have a time, because even most bosses have a boss. You know what I mean? Every business, there's usually a chain of command somewhere. And when it comes to this stuff, it's just kind of like you and then the IRS. The IRS. And they only tell you how much money to pay them at the end of the year. So it wouldn't do bad or it wouldn't be bad for you to read some self-help books on time management and business management.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed when I started my business was that I hadn't adapted out of the clock out mindset, or there are so many things to do. We'll put it this way. There's so many things to do. There are always things to do. There are always going to be unlimited things to do, and you're never going to be done with all of the things that there are to do. So your brain tells you that if you're not doing one of the many things that you need to do, that you're not being productive, or you didn't get enough done, or you shouldn't be relaxing. You don't deserve to relax because you still have things to do. Whereas when you go to work, you clock in, you do what you're supposed to do, and then when you clock out, you're done. our brains, when we own our own businesses, they kind of never clock out. You just know that you have all these things you need to do, and your home office is right there. You might as well be doing them. Watching a movie, that's a big waste of time. Doing this, doing that, big waste of time. But there has to be that balance. So I always say that you should always prioritize the things that need to happen first. Mm-hmm. For example, sending out your Etsy orders is probably more important than getting a load of laundry in. The load of laundry can be done, at any point. The Etsy orders that need to go to the post office need to be done in a timely manner. So prioritize based on things that need to be done first, but then be a little bit more relaxed with yourself on those big high tasks that you want to work on, the things that don't have a looming deadline, the things that just, seem like they would be a good idea to start. I try to give myself a couple daily tasks. I have my priorities that have to be done, and then I give myself a few daily tasks that don't necessarily need to be finished today. It would be nice if they are, but if they don't, nothing bad is going to happen. I can carry them over until the next day. So I think that that's one of those things that you just kind of have to learn in time to not feel so guilty. And to not live in the mindset that you have to have everything done by a certain time, because you'll never be done. There is no done. As soon as you feel like you're done, you'll think of something new that you want to do. And if you constantly work in this state of busy, then what's the point of even being a business owner? A lot of people say that they want the freedom, but there is no freedom when it comes to being a business owner. No. You kind of have to create moments of freedom that you can enjoy.
You have to earn it.
Yeah, you have to earn it for yourself, and then decide for yourself that you're going to take that time.
And depending on what your industry, you don't really get to decide when that time's going to be. You just kind of have to find the opportunity and take it, if you've done everything that you need to do to take that opportunity.
Yeah, maybe don't do it around Christmas, sales.
If you've fallen behind and you get to a point where you could take a break, but you're behind, it's probably better that you don't take advantage of that and you wait until the next opportunity to move forward.
Yeah. And you'll start to recognize patterns as well, especially when it comes to when your slow seasons are. If you decide that you want to take a nice trip for, Valentine's Day with your sweetheart, and that Christmas time is very busy for you, but that also means you're going to make a lot of sales, then that's one of those things where you bust your butt working, maybe we'll say September through December, to create enough products to sustain your business, to get everything shipped, to give yourself, your good holiday flow, to run whatever holiday sales you want to run, to save up. And then you can afford for that February trip. You can decide, for the month of February, I'm putting my shop on vacation mode, and I'm taking all this money that I worked for over the holidays, and me and my sweetie are going to go on, on a trip. So like I said, it's one of those things that you just kind of learn through practice, but you have to know when to clock out. It's really bad for your emotional health. And I was a completely different person, I feel like, when I first started HAA. I was very unpleasant, and
yes.
He and I had a lot of problems, primarily because I couldn't get away from my business, and I felt like nothing else but working on the business mattered. And in reality, I'm still doing just as much, maybe not right now, because we're still kind of revving up after a crisis. But I feel like I do just as much now, but I work more productively because I include in those breaks, and I give myself that respect. So we're talking a lot about like emotional health and feelings.
That's fine.
Today.
They need to hear that too. Somebody preach. And Luminaria said higher price doesn't mean higher quality, but in most cases better quality. I disagree with the sentiment that higher price doesn't mean higher quality. I have a different opinion on this. I believe, other than certain service-based things, we'll say specifically like funerals and weddings, There is no such thing as saying a higher price is higher quality. However, there is a point of diminishing return. And this goes with every industry. You talk about clothing. Buying $100 shirt is almost, if you know where you're buying from and you're not just buying some weird crap from somewhere.
From a sweatshop
Yeah,
somewhere.
$100 shirt's probably almost always going to be better than a $10 shirt. The same as a $50,000 car is going to be better than a $10,000 car. We'll say a nice $60,000 truck is going to be nicer than a $20,000 Honda Civic. A $100,000 Mercedes is going to be better than a $60,000 truck. However, let's say like a $160,000 car is probably going to be barely better than a $100,000 car. Everything has a point of diminishing returns. Same thing with food. You can get really good food for like $50. You can get astonishingly good food for like, say, $100 a plate. But if you're paying any more than that, it's probably a diminishing return. So I don't agree with the paying more doesn't get you better quality, because in my experience with just about everything, it's better to wait and continue to save until you can afford to get that next up thing, because it's probably going to last you longer. It's going to be better quality. Your use during is going to be better. Just if you have the ability to wait on buying something and you're eyeballing something that's slightly more expensive that you might only have to wait a month or two for, wait. Get the higher quality thing.
Yeah, that is... and
reviews will tell you almost everything.
That's true.
Really, read reviews.
We notice... My mom was one of those people who doesn't know a lot about computers, but every year she would go buy a new laptop. And we're like, Mom, why are you buying all these laptops? And she said, well, I get them at Walmart, and they just slow down after a while. So her solution was to go to Walmart once a year and buy a $200 laptop. We have had the same laptop for...
Long time.
Mm-hmm. How expensive is our laptop?
I paid like $1,900 for it.
My mom, if she would have just bought one nice laptop, it could have been a laptop that would last her significantly longer, and in the long run she would have ended up paying far less. But because she buys these crappy little laptops from Walmart, she's repeatedly having to go back and pay $200 for laptops.
I'm in the mindset that unless you're a student, or you live in like a small studio where you can't have a computer desk, you should use a desktop. And I know a lot of people say, oh, I want to sit on my couch, I want to do this and that. But the thing is, sitting with your laptop on your lap is bad for you anyway. So if you have the ability, save up, get yourself a desktop computer, a nice screen, a nice desk. That way if you're working, like, you might not think too much about it, but like sitting at a desk, being in work mode, you're going to be way more motivated, and just sitting in a healthy way. Ergonomics are a huge thing, especially if you're older. I know a lot of the older folks have I've unfortunately have had back problems since I was 24. So I know a lot of you older folks that actually have a sore back from being an older person. Sitting at a desk is going to make a huge difference for you at the end of the day. Sitting on your couch is bad for you. So stay motivated. Get yourself a desktop computer, sit at a desk.
Absolutely.
Get a good chair. If you're going to work for like 8 hours a day in a chair, get you a good chair. Spend like $1,000 or $2,000 on something nice. Get you a Herman Miller. Get you an ergo chair or whatever the heck they're called.
Yeah, because the thing with couches is it might seem like it's more comfortable than sitting in an office chair, but what I've noticed with Mark is when he sits on the couch, he doesn't just sit on the couch. He's like, you know, you move all around, and you're usually sitting in a way that isn't good for your back anyway. And when he does that, he ends up in pain for a week just because he sat on the couch weird.
Tangent alert. Jojo said I have a stand-up desk. Me too. I got my desk from Uplift. Love it.
Brittany said, if I don't stay busy in some way, I get bored. So I'm always doing something with my shop, and I include my family in it. We think it's fun to work together. Plus, we're now getting orders in. That's awesome. Yeah, if you can get your family included in your shop, that's a really cool thing to do. That way you can actually spend time with them. I wouldn't use that as your only thing, though. I would make sure that you're including other things in, and also think about yourself separately as a person. What things are you doing individually just for you? It might feel really good to spend time with your family, but we also need to make sure that we're having time for our own self-reflection and growth, even if it's completely unrelated to business. I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but I'm going to anyway. I started writing a book, And I don't know why.
It's not a business book for those of you who got really excited.
Everybody keeps saying, Starla, write a business book.
It's a fiction.
It is a fiction book. It is a fantasy book. I started writing that right after my grandma passed away because I needed something healthier to keep my mind on. And it's only 11 pages long so far. I expect to only add like a page to it a day, but that's kind of my weird little meditative thing that I'm doing at the end of each day. And it's only for me, and he's not allowed to look at it until I'm done and satisfied with it. I won't even tell him what it's about, but that's just kind of my weird little thing. So maybe when my book is done, you guys can read it. Terry, Starla, what are your thoughts about putting your shop on vacation mode versus extending shipping times? It depends on how long you're going on vacation.
Yep.
If you are putting it on vacation mode for a week or 2 weeks, that's fine. When you put your shop on vacation mode, basically what you're doing is you're halting the ability for people to interact with your listings, which is going to reduce your overall listing quality scores. That is why after you return from vacation mode, typically what you notice is that you don't have as much traffic, and it takes a while for you to regain those listing quality scores. It takes a while for people to see you in search, find your listings again, interact with them, and build up your listing quality scores so that you fall back into the natural position in search that you would have before you went on vacation. When you extend your shipping times, what you do is ultimately still have your business open. People can still message you. Yep. They can still complain that you haven't replied.
Yep.
They can
it's a risk-reward thing.
They might not see your notification that your business, that you are on vacation mode, and they might complain. They might leave a bad review that your shipping is slow.
Which you can get removed.
I don't know if you can get that removed.
If your shipping times were publicly stated and they leave a bad review for not shipping it within a smaller period of time.
Yeah, I think Etsy would probably remove that.
It's still a risk either way. Either side is a risk. If you put your shop on vacation mode, you lose a little bit of traffic for a short period of time. If you extend your shipping times, you have risk of a bad review that you might have to battle with Etsy to get removed. It just, like she said, it just depends on how long.
Yeah, if it's going to be like a month, I would definitely say put it on vacation mode. But if you're only going to be gone for a week or 2 weeks, extend your shipping times a little bit because people, aren't... Most people are used to waiting a week or sometimes even 2 weeks for items on Etsy to ship, depending on what they are.
Is there a sweet spot for how many listings to have?
Not necessarily.
For minimums, yeah.
Not necessarily a sweet spot. I recommend that sellers fill their first page. That way they have one full page of Etsy listings.
Doesn't mean you can't have more. That's just more of a minimum.
Yeah, I would say that at least enough to fill your first page is kind of because it gives people enough to browse through, They've got enough things to look at.
I have 10 years of data telling me when high and low times are for planning purposes. None of it makes sense anymore this year. 2020 just chucked the spreadsheets out the window.
Don't use data from 2020.
Yeah, this is a crap year. I probably wouldn't use any from next year either because while this is a socioeconomic crash that we're going through, next year is going to be the bump up if the virus stuff and all this stuff cools down. But on top of that, the U.S. has a presidential election taking place. There's going to be either a continuation of a president that's very controversial or a new president that's very controversial, and numbers are going to be weird next year too. So there's a very good chance you're not going to be able to use data from next year either.
Right, but and here's the thing: don't pitch those spreadsheets out. Keep those because that's your norm. You want to know what your norm is. Eventually, your goal should be to return to that again. Let's see.
Just a heads up for those of you who haven't run a business during a presidential election. Things get weird, so expect weird trends with your businesses.
Deb had a good one.
Yeah, look up Boots' theory of socioeconomic unfairness. A $10 pair of boots might last a year, and you buy a pair every year. A $100 pair of boots will last you decades. Absolutely.
Let's
see. I agree. Yeah, my next wife will be expensive, aren't they all? She and this sounds awful, but she's pretty cheap.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I am cheap though, man. He yells at me because I still shop at like, do you guys have Gabriel Brothers? It's like Marshall's, but it's cheaper. Marshall's even to me sometimes is too expensive because I'm just like, these are clothes that the mall couldn't sell, and now Marshall's is selling them for like $5 less than I would have bought them directly from the store.
See, my $400 chair I bought last fall is amazing compared to any of the $49 chairs I've ever had before. Yep, this chair is about $400, and I'm actually looking at a chair now that's about $1,600 that I'm really excited to get. I have 11 collapsed discs in my back. I have 2. Sitting at a desk all day is not an option. No, you need to work with that stuff. That's a lot. I got my laptop from Costco. It's HP. It was only $450. So live within your means. Obviously, when I say things like that, don't sit and buy like a $10,000 computer if that's not what you need. Still live within your means, but be reasonable about it, and do research on the things that you're going to purchase. Computers are one thing that just about everyone gets taken advantage of on. And that's one of the reasons why I always say that I don't support Apple, is because they take advantage of their customers big time. Not necessarily on the purchase, but on any future repairs that you're going to have to do. They break laws and get away with it on the Right to Repair Act. Don't get taken advantage of.
Why does Lindsay's name always have a little check mark beside it?
I have no idea.
Are you famous, Lindsay? You look like you have the verified like YouTube user name. I feel like Starla swap bodies with my therapist. Let's see.
Doing something just for you is going to benefit your business because of the positive. Exactly. If you're in a better mindset, you're going to work better.
Let's see.
Feel guilt when I'm not working, but I have to just make family time. They're why I work. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
she said I used to be a big time blogger, Lindsay.
Oh, okay. I want a little check mark beside my name. Let's see. No, Etsy will not remove those reviews. Reviews must mention the third-party shipping service, such as USPS or FedEx, to qualify for removal. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's one of those things where if I got a bad review due to shipping times and the shipping times were stated in my shop, I would take a screenshot of my stated shipping times, reach out to the customer, apologize that it wasn't what they expected, or that the shipping times weren't what they expected, but that the shipping times were stated honestly in my shop, and that the review might give off the perception that my shipping times are dishonest, and request that they change that review. And then if they don't change it, I would put it in my response on their review that my shipping times were stated and that the person missed those shipping times. So,
do you know if Etsy has put out anything addressing the current slowdowns with the mail? I'm considering starting to ship everything with UPS.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything from them, but I'm sure they have. Those of you that follow the forums and stuff would probably know.
No, they haven't stated anything to my knowledge. One thing that I will say is that I haven't personally experienced any slowing of mail where I am.
Nope.
Where we order things online weekly, and we have not experienced the slowdown, but obviously we're all seeing the photos and things of these facilities. I read an article yesterday about sort facilities being full of rotten food that had been shipped, and dead animals from where people had shipped like baby chickens and things for like overnight shipping, and they were dying in their boxes at sort facilities. So
don't ship animals.
Don't ship animals.
I'm not a fan of that anyway.
Don't ship animals right now if you have to ship animals, and use a different service.
If you're buying an animal, buy one from a place you can go pick it up. I hate shipping animals anyway. I think it's cruel. That's just me.
We don't really have any suggestions on the current mailing issues though, because we don't know. This is a new thing. This is the first time that we've ever seen anything like this. When in doubt, switch your mail service. Experiment with UPS and FedEx if you have to. or if you are noticing really bad delays in your area, or if you just are nervous about it. A lot of these, I noticed that Michael's craft stores now are accepting UPS packages. There are a lot of new, package pickup points that are popping up because of all of this. So you can now drop off packages at places like Michael's craft store, and I know that Office Depot is another big one that you can use to drop off packages if you aren't able to get directly to a UPS or a FedEx facility. But it's one of those things where I'm just going to test the water for myself and kind of see how things go. I haven't personally had any issues with my packages arriving, nor have I had any issues ordering things online yet. So I'm just going to ride this wave, and I'll keep you guys posted. But really, you have to go based on your own location. If you're close to one of these sort facilities, obviously you're probably more likely to experience an issue. If it's an area where you know that your packages are going to have to pass through, and you know that this facility is also overflowing with rotten food and dead animals, might be a good idea to go ahead and make that switch to UPS, at least through the holidays.
And I also just found out that you can return pretty much any Amazon item to Kohl's.
They just started that, yeah.
Yep. So I would expect to see them doing stuff soon.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll go ahead and hit these last ones.
Yep, because we got stuff to do today. I tried E-Rank. Yes, I noted everything for SEO down, but I feel like I'm going to waste $10 a month. I'm getting the $10 membership, and so much to think about, if you know what I mean.
I mean, you're not wasting it if you're using it. There's no way to waste something if you're using it. And if you're not going to use it, then don't pay for it. It's not one of those things where someone is forcing you to pay for it. Don't pay for it. There is a free membership for a reason, and you don't need to get the $10 a month. There's a $5 a month membership as well if the $10 a month is too much for you. These are investments. You don't waste money that you're investing when it comes to things like resources for your business that you're actually using in order to optimize your growth. And if you're not growing, when you have a tool available to you that is based on data, factual data, then you need to change the method in which you use the tool, not change the system. Because if your lack of understanding of the tool does not deem the tool itself ineffective or a waste, that just means that you need to spend more time learning about the tool so that you can better use it. The same as, if someone puts a brand new Corvette in front of you, but you don't know how to drive a car, it doesn't mean that having the car is a waste. You just have to learn how to drive the car. So I would take time to watch some of my E-Rank videos. Pam Duthie has tons of great E-Rank videos as well. On E-Rank, there are little orange question marks that you hover your mouse over. Those are all tool tips where you can read a little bit about the tools. We're currently in the middle of doing a lot of other really great things to E-Rank to kind of change things up, trying to make it a little bit more user-friendly and help you guys along as you're exploring the tools. I've been working on that with Anthony a little bit over the last few months. And you can also go to erank.com/blog and read some of our blog posts. I've got a couple really good ones. Pam's got a bunch of really great ones. Just read through some of those blog posts because those are going to teach you a little bit more about how to use some of the tools.
Cher said, using your advice, she just paid off all of her medical debts,
Woo!
rented her first real home
Woo!
in 4 years, and moved on 9/14. We're stoked for you. That's awesome.
And she's been an alpha forever too. So let's see.
Just destroyed over 600 sorting machines. Yeah, I would expect to keep an eye out on other shipping services. Maybe start pricing stuff just as an emergency. Because when that selection stuff starts, it's probably going to slow down a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't say that for sure, but yeah. Gabby said she has over a dozen outstanding and has to reimburse the customers because no one can find them in the system.
Oh, you can't find the packages in the system?
I would look into insuring your packages if you're that many are disappearing in the mail, because
that's kind of hindsight advice,
well, I know,
but...
I mean from the further, that way you don't have to stop shipping, because especially if you're up into the like $100 or more in losses, like USPS should have to compensate for losing those packages.
Emmy, do you think jewelry sales will be much lower this year? No. People not going out is not a reason that people won't buy things. People are, especially when we talk about holiday season, no one is going to say, I'm not going to buy this necklace for mom because she ain't going nowhere. You know, mom ain't going nowhere. She doesn't need this necklace. The not going out, I don't think that's not a reason to keep people from buying things that they would normally buy anyway. I think that holiday sales this year online are going to be the most insane that they've ever been. So we're going to be working on hopefully a lot of really great resources for you for the holidays this year over the next few weeks, because I am telling you now, and this is just my prediction, and you guys can yell at me if I'm wrong, but every time I make a prediction like this, I do so through a lot of thought and a lot of observation of the market trends, and just based on all of the information that we have right now about
past experience too.
Yeah, and past experience, with everything that's going on right now, and with most stores not hosting Black Friday sales events in person, I think that this is going to be our biggest year for online sales on Etsy. So for anybody who's procrastinating on getting their shops ready for the holidays,
you're gonna miss out.
This isn't that emotional marketing thing where I'm trying to push you to do something, that you don't want to do. This is one of those things where I'm dead serious. People who do not take action are the ones who will be posting in the group in a few months saying that they wish that they would have. This is the time to start acting and to start working on your shops and getting everything in order, whether that be your SEO, whether that be retaking your photos if they're not very good, whether that be hopping on Fiverr and getting yourself some professional branding like a good logo, creating a quality banner for your shop, making sure that your shipping is figured out. I would get on that as well. If you're still up in the air, I would definitely try to start deciding what you're going to do for your shipping, because if you were to get 100 orders tomorrow, you need to have a plan. You need to know exactly what it is that you're going to do, and you need to make sure that these are the types of things that you can prepare for. Even if it doesn't happen, you should always be prepared for the best case scenario. So
I shipped ceramics from Florida to Cincinnati. 3 dice priority took 11 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I would probably get some swipes built for yourself, some swipe files built for late shipping stuff, because that's probably not going to change for a while.
Etsy just sent a USPS email 30 seconds ago. Okay, everybody, we have the email now. Go check it. They must have been watching the Friday Bean.
Any tips to match mass produce holiday products quickly? Nope,
because I can't teach you how to make your own products.
Nope.
You can either hire somebody or you can create a new system to create your products faster. Me making a batch of skeleton key necklaces is going to be entirely different than someone who needs to make a batch of 10 pumpkin spice scented soaps.
Lots of coffee, and if you don't need to be precise with your hands, maybe a little bit of speed.
I thought you meant like physical speed, not the drug.
No, the drug. I was talking about the drug. It's a joke, though, YouTube. Please don't destroy me.
Don't demonetize us.
Oh, my God. Potential spam. Hang up on it.
Non-stop, I swear.
Are there certain time seasons you can recommend turning Etsy ads on?
If you're going to turn your Etsy ads on, obviously the holidays are a great time to do it if that's something that you want to do. I wouldn't gauge your results from them by turning them on around the holidays, because that's an unnatural traffic flow that, won't maintain throughout the year. But if you're going to turn them on, make sure, for one, that you're turning on those ads for your best sellers primarily. You want to bet on your winning racehorses, as I always say. And then also make sure that your SEO is already good and that your photos are good. Make sure that that product is ready to be monetized in the market. That way you actually have the highest opportunity to convert that product into a sale, rather than just, trying to advertise products that aren't selling anyway. If nobody wants them when they're not advertised, advertising them isn't going to make someone suddenly want to buy them.
And don't go nuts spending a bunch of money on them either. Set yourself a budget.
Exactly.
We just read that one. My mail has been thrown off with the Derico storm. Hit several areas, have no power, and they've already repaired over 2,500 power poles. Swipe files, what's that?
Swipe files are basically swipe files are basically a copy and paste message that you create so that you don't have to type the same thing to customers over and over again, especially if they ask the same common questions over and over again. So just type out one response. For example, hey, we are experiencing shipping delays. We thank you for your patience, yada, yada, yada. And then you save that to your desktop, and anytime you notice a delay within your orders, you just copy and paste that message to all of your customers or add them into your snippets within your Etsy conversations.
Yes.
And another thing that I do want to quickly shout out is for those who have E-Rank, the delivery status report is a really great tool that you guys can use to see all of your tracking at a glance. You know how on Etsy you have to actually go and click everybody's tracking number to see where the package is? E-Rank has a delivery status report where if you're using USPS, you can go to one page within E-Rank if your Etsy shop is connected to your account, and you can see where all of your packages are. So that makes it a little bit easier than having to go and click one by one.
There's a free program called Phrase Express that I use for my swipe files. It makes answering emails so much easier. Lots of tools out there. What about putting something about why to order early in the announcements?
Yeah, you totally could.
That's fine.
Not a lot of people are going to read your announcement, so if you could maybe snip it down and stick it in one of your 10 photo slots.
That's the thing that sucks about this, is that I'm not going to say most, some people in the U.S. will understand why shipping is slow. The world is full of not smart people, so
they're completely disconnected with the world.
Yeah.
And USPS is having delays? What?
Exactly.
There's a virus?
Or people in foreign countries who don't buy a lot of things online are also not going to understand that if you're shipping from the U.S. to, or even vice versa, that things are going to be slow. So address it in any way that you can. If you can put something in the descriptions, put something in the descriptions. Include it in your swipe file messages. Do whatever you can. Damage control early, because this is only going to get worse. I'm not talking about the virus. I'm shipping-wise, because the virus isn't going anywhere anytime soon, especially in the U.S. Not up for debate. But the election is going to be starting soon, and people are going to be doing their mail-in ballots, and the government is, I predict, going to get ridiculously strict on that. But then that's only going to slow things down. So expect whatever it is now to probably be twice as bad around November. And I would expect that whatever problems that causes will probably continue into December and January. So I would expect to be shipping Christmas stuff and New Year's stuff pretty early. Mm-hmm. I would give that a long time, because stuff is not going to be arriving in double the amount of time like it usually is. It's probably going to be triple or quadruple the amount of time.
Yeah, I'm going to be putting my shipping deadlines to the beginning of December. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that probably
that's probably a safe bet.
Yeah,
I think, and I would love to be wrong. Don't misunderstand me there. I hope I'm wrong and that things don't get worse, but this is the United States. Things always get worse before they get better. So yeah.
You said USPS or UPS? USPS is what is running so slow.
Yes.
UPS is an alternative if you don't want to go through USPS's slow mailing. If you have a package lost in Iowa, bear with us. The high school is still missing its roof. Oh, God. What? I didn't know you could do that with E-Rank. Yes, it is the delivery status report, and I believe it is under the shop tab. So it's very, very useful.
When Etsy shipping labels have a notification of a suggested address, do I change the address to that or ask the customer for confirmation?
We have two methods that we do it. If it's completely different, we ask the customer for confirmation. If it's just, for example, sometimes it'll change, if someone has an apartment number, they might put John Street apartment number 246, and the suggested will just change it to John Street, number 246. That's one of those occasions where, we might... Sorry, Marcus.
You have way too many tabs open for a YouTube live stream.
That might be an occasion where I don't contact a customer. It doesn't really matter. But if a street changes, like the street name completely changes, I'll reach out to a customer about that. I think it's just one of those things where you have to look at what the changes are. A lot of the times it'll just capitalize everything, and that'll be the suggestion. So I think it just depends on how different the suggestion is from what they originally put there.
Let's see here. Should have been clarified. You save your swipe files in Phase Express and then just type a keyword and it enters your whole text. So I type Etsy returns and it puts frozen. So hold on.
We're good.
There we go.
That makes sense. Okay, so it's kind of got like it's got its own little like keyword search, like a search option. That makes more sense.
You're not wrong. Ship by the first week in December if there's any hope of getting there by Christmas. Yep. Does anyone know which service Royal Mail in the UK hands packages over to in the US? I would probably say USPS or DHL.
Most likely USPS, unless you're using DHL, because that
They're
DHL...
using Royal Mail.
Oh, okay. I don't think that they'll hand it to DHL, though. I think it goes through USPS.
It probably goes through USPS, though.
Pretty sure.
Given my circumstances right now, I moved mine to the beginning of November. Mail is being held in California for upwards of 15 days or more, and that was announced today on one of my business forums. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're not even into the friggin' election yet, and stuff's already getting delayed because for some reason mailboxes are disappearing. So, yeah, expect it to get worse. That's all I can really say. Shipping stuff is going to be nuts all year, and it's going to take them probably twice as long to recover because we're going to be recovering during the holiday season. So I would expect that to get pushed forward to the beginning, probably up into spring of next year before shipping is back to normal.
Monica confirmed Royal Mail is handed to USPS.
Folks in Northern California probably want to have swipe files ready to go. My sister-in-law is right on the edge of evacuation since the fires are moving in. Yeah, they just evacuated Travis.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing where you just need to put your shop on vacation mode. If you have to evacuate, put your shop on vacation mode for a little while, just so you can make sure that you're okay.
Message any people who have current orders and let them know that you're in the middle of a fire.
Yeah. Most people are understanding. I had 2 packages that went out a day late when my grandma died. And I sent them both a message letting them know that their packages would be a day late. And they were like, don't worry about it. So most people are understanding. All right, guys.
Most.
Some
aren't.
Some aren't, but most are. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. We went 19 minutes over time, but that's okay.
We owe that to you. We've been gone for a couple weeks.
We needed a little bit of extra time with you to answer questions. So we hope that you guys have an amazing weekend. We are going to work on getting caught up with all of the things that we've missed in Handmade Alpha Academy over the next few days. And our kiddo is starting her online school on Monday. So we have lots of stuff that we have to do related to that. We feel bad for all of you who are in the same boat.
We're finally getting her evil iPad out of the house, though. Switching to a Chromebook.
Oh, yeah, because we're the anti-Apple family, and they've forced us to take an iPad. But now we're switching to Chromebooks, so all of the evil from the house will
It can disappear.
It will be banished. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We will hopefully, as long as no crazy crises happen this week, we will see you on Friday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You also have to click.
Oh, I have to click end here, too. All right.